Welcome back to a Book a Day podcast. I'm back with another book, more stories. In the previous few episodes, we were discussing some short stories from India. I narrated short stories from this book called Our Favorite Indian Stories. Now I've got another book with me. It's called Folk Stories from the Indian Subcontinent. And there are so many folk stories in it. And the story that I've got for today's episode is called The Hermit Cat, and it is from the Andhra region, from the Telugu speaking region, this folk story. So, without taking much of your time, let me narrate this folk story for you, which is called The Hermit Cat. Here we go. Far away, in a village in Andhra Pradesh, in a little cottage lived a cat. He was old and infirm, and now unable to catch his prey unless it almost fell into his mouth. Even walking a small distance was a difficult task for him. He spent most of his time staying near the door of the local temple, where he could pick up the crumbs falling from the offerings made to the gods and idols in the shrine. On some occasions, he would carry a string of rosary beads and a small begging bowl, and walking on his hind legs, hoped to catch any unsuspecting prey by fraud. One day, he came face to face with a mouse who, at first taken aback, plucked up courage to ask him what he was and where he was going. The cat replied that he had come back from a hermitage at the foothills of the Himalayas, and that now he was a hermit living not very far from this temple. The mouse, still being a bit suspicious, prostrating himself at a distance, asked whether he could accompany him to his temple. The cat agreed, and the mouse followed him at a respectful distance. The plan of the cat was, though he was not capable of catching the mouse in the open, he should be able to do so in a confined space like the temple. Going a little further on, they met a pigeon with a tuft of feathers on its head. The pigeon, after a short conversation with the mouse and the hermit, decided to join them. They reached the temple and went inside, while the cat stood in the doorway counting on his rosary and pretending to be engaged in his prayers. Meanwhile, the mouse, still being suspicious of the cat, made a long hole on the temple floor, big and safe enough for him to hide. The pigeon too was not sure of the cat's intentions, and flew up and perched on the rafter over the main shrine. The cat, seeing that his plans had been thwarted, got angry, and in a rough voice of authority asked the pigeon why he had a tuft of feathers on his head. To this, the pigeon replied that it was the ancestral sign of his caste. Then the cat asked the mouse, who by now was peering from the entrance of the hole he had just made, why he had whiskers. He replied that they were his religious symbol, just as the rosary and begging bowl were for the cat. At this reply, the cat, realizing that his intentions had been exposed, sprang upon the mouse, but before his paws could even reach him, the mouse scrambled into the hole, and the pigeon, who was watching this, flew away. Being thwarted and humiliated, the cat now left the temple and went away and sat under a tree where there were mouse holes. There he stood on one paw, pretending to meditate. At this moment, some mice, coming out of a hole, seeing the cat standing on one paw, performing what appeared to be austerities in front of their mouse hole, asked him what he was doing. The cat replied, "I am standing on one paw out of consideration for Mother Earth. I do not want to burden her with my full weight." For a moment, the mice thought that this was a religious being to have such unselfish thoughts, and whatever fear they had soon vanished. They filed past him, in and out of their hole, each time prostrating themselves in front of him. The cat, seeing a new opportunity, grabbed the last mouse as it went past him, and once the others had gone out of sight, he ate it. In this manner, day by day, he managed to devour the mice one by one. Soon the mice began to realize that some members of their family were missing. Some husbands lost their wives, some their grandmothers, some their mothers and fathers, and so on. There was much sorrow in that very large mouse family. Eventually, their suspicions fell upon the cat. This sort of thing had never happened before the hermit cat arrived there. Now they had a meeting and discussed ways of finding out the cause of this, and therefore decided to keep watch. As the mice were filing past the cat, the head of the family kept looking back until the last mouse came in front of the cat. The whole party of mice turned back immediately, and the cat let go his prey and resumed his original stance. The culprit had been caught in the act. The mice, all together in unison, grabbed hold of the cat's tail and dragged the struggling animal little by little into their now widened hole. It did not take long for them to kill the cat. Then they had plenty of food to last for many days. So this was a folk tale adapted from a tale from Andhra Pradesh. Really simple one for the children. I hope you enjoy, and you can share with the children if there are any around you. So with that, I'll take your leave, but I'll keep narrating these short folk tales from various parts of India in the coming episodes. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you.